back to this House of Walls. My name is Ashley, and on this channel I love to share all things homeschooling and books. And before we really get into this video, if you like any of those topics, make sure to like and subscribe down below. I am really working hard on posting twice a week right now, and so far it is going fantastically. So, I am back with a massive book haul. To be totally honest, I tried to film this yesterday, and it was just a mess. And so I'm basically scrapping the whole thing and starting over again. I am going to stitch in just a second. I actually had a unboxing of a couple books, but unfortunately now with filming again, I don't have that. So I'm going to stitch in the very beginning the couple of books that I did unbox, and then we're going to go from there. I have, so you can see a book here, that's on the back stack. There's another stack right here. There's a lot of books. I tried to buy used books, and there are a handful in here that are used. I also look for really good deals and sales on books. And this pile also includes some Christmas money books. I had some nice little Christmas money, and so I decided, yeah, I'm gonna get books because that's what really makes me happy. So that's what I did. So I think what we're going to do, I have my biggest stack here, and that is fantasy. It's a big stack, but that's a lot of what my genres are, and I'm actually this year trying to weed out some of my other genres that don't really hold my interest as much anymore. So we're gonna start with that one. I'm gonna take a big gulp of coffee and let's get started. Alright, so I am going to now insert the clip of the unboxing of the couple of books, and then I will be back today to talk about more books. So I have two packages here. They actually just came in yesterday, and so I figured since I was planning on filming this, we can just open it together. I do know what they are. Yay! Okay, so this one, it just came out yesterday as I'm filming this, and I pre-ordered it. And that is Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands. So this is book 2. At the beginning of the month, I finished book 1 and really enjoyed it, so immediately got on and pre-ordered it. I don't know where this one will lead, but I am excited to pick this one back up hopefully really soon and get back into the story. So this, you are following Emily. She's like the lead scholar in fairy folklore, which is true. And so she goes around to different places and tries to kind of decipher it and is making an encyclopedia of it. So this will be a lot of fun. All right, nice little package here. All right. This is a little 3-pack. They are all soft cover, and I think that's okay. I was wanting to get the first one in this, and I had actually hit order, and then it said, well, you can get the 3-pack for only $10 more. So I said, yeah. But that is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. And so there's this one, and then More Tales from a Cafe, and Before Your Memory Fades. So I've heard these are kind of lighter, but really kind of make you think and take place in a cafe where you're able to time travel, but you have to be sure to be back before your coffee gets cold. So I am excited to get into these. All right, so as we get started, let's start with my two newest additions. Yesterday, after totally fumbling with making this video and just other things going on in my life, my husband said, I think you need to get out for a little bit. So I actually went to one of my favorite thrift stores, actually found this new sweater. Don't worry, it's washed and cleaned. But they actually had quite a few fantastic books there. Most of them that I was interested in, I already have or have read, but they had two that I couldn't believe were on the shelves. So the first is Never Whistle at Dark, and this is an Indigenous dark fiction anthology. So they are dark folklores from Indigenous cultures all in one book. I think that this sounds fantastic, and this cover is absolutely stunning, and I couldn't believe it. I already took the sticker off. Both of these books here, this one may have been for $2, but then was like an extra 25% off. I couldn't believe it. And then my next one is The Invisible Hour by Alice Hoffman. I actually know nothing about this, but I did read her entire Practical Magic series last year. And so I figured, all right, I'll check this out. I've heard slightly mixed reviews about it. So the inside jacket says it's about a fierce heroine whose life is saved by a book and its author, even though they live hundreds of years apart. All right, my next two books are also from a used bookstore. So one of them is new, but one is used, because this bookstore sells both. And if you buy a new book, you get an extra 25% off of a used book. So, all right, I'll take a deal. So my new book is Cassandra Clare's new adult novel, Swordcatcher. I honestly have no idea what this is about. I haven't read any of her YA works. It just hasn't interested me, but I've heard really good things about this, and so I wanted to check it out. The inside first is gorgeous and has a map. It says, two outcasts find themselves at the center of world-altering change in the start of a riveting epic fantasy series. So, definitely want to check this out. And because I got that one new, I got 25% off of this used book, Wolf Song by TJ Klune. I am really quickly becoming a huge fan of TJ Klune. I read 2 of his books last year, and they were absolute 5 stars, and one of them was actually my favorite read of last year. This one is either a trilogy or a quartet, and deals with a family of shapeshifters. So I love the way that that sounds and can't wait to check it out. All right, my next 2 used fantasy books are from my absolute favorite used bookstore. They are really good about buying books that I take in that I have read and didn't enjoy thoroughly, and so they're not going to go back on my shelf. And then they have a great selection of books there. So the first is Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. I have heard fantastic things about this book and this author, so I definitely wanted to check her out. This deals with a time traveler Black woman who I don't think she can control when or what time she time travels to. And so I think ends up during slavery times, and so you can imagine the hardships that come with that. My next, I don't know, I wouldn't have bought it new, but because it was there at the used bookstore, I thought, all right, I'll check it out. And that is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I think that this cover is amazing in itself, and then it deals with kind of, I think it's like set in the 80s, and deals with 2 friends, and one of them needs an exorcism done. So I've heard some people love it and some people haven't. We'll see where I fall on it, but this cover is amazing. All right, so my next little stack of books here is still fantasy, but more in the cozy fantasy genre. I have learned this past year that that is a genre that I really like. I love the fantasy elements, but it's kind of nice to take a little break from big epic fantasies and just have low stake fantasy books. So this one, I would say it's fantasy, but also mystery. And my family is all, how can it be a cozy mystery? And it just is. And that is the second in the Shady Hollow mystery series, and this is Cold Clay by Juno Black. I read the first one in December and really liked it, so I do want to get to this one fairly soon. I am really trying to read series more quickly and kind of back to back, because then I can remember what happened in the books and I don't have to kind of start all over in some series. But this one deals with the quiet little town of Shady Hollow. This one I think just kind of takes back off, and there's some town secrets about a town favorite, and I am really excited to get into this. The next totally was on a whim. Chantel from Chantel Reads All Day said that she really liked the series, and the second one is coming out I think fairly soon, and that is Wormwood Abbey by Christina Bear. So this is as a Victorian clergyman's daughter, Edith Worms has seen everything until a mythical salamander tumbles out of the fireplace onto her lap. So I think it's just a little cozy fantasy, nice little short book. Then I have The House Witch by Delham Hatch, and this is a humorous blend of fantasy, romance, and mystery featuring a witch with domestic powers and the royal household he serves dinner. Again, that sounds amazing. So this follows Finn, who is a house witch and I think works in the kitchens, but has to keep his witchcraft secret. He also has a familiar that he also has to kind of keep on the down low, but I think something happens with the royal family and his secrets kind of have to come out in order to help the royal family. So there we are. Alright, my next didn't really fit into any of my fantasy categories that I have here, but I love a good post-apocalyptic book. That's a genre that I really enjoy. And so I heard about this one, I don't remember where. Maybe from Emily Fox. I'll try and tag her down below. But this is The Book of the Unnamed Midwife by Meg Ellison. So it says, surviving the apocalypse is only the beginning. So there's a fever that kills most of the women and children on Earth and makes childbirth deadly for the mother and infant. So I think that this follows a woman or a group of women that are then trying to survive in now a totally different world where there's really only men. I think that this is part of a series and I'm down for it. My next is Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. This is the second book in the duology after Divine Rivals. I really liked Divine Rivals. I think I gave it a solid 4 stars, and so I'm really interested to pick this one up soon. There's not a lot I can say about it because it is the second book, but it is following 2 journalists who are kind of at ends. I wouldn't say it's enemies to lovers because they're not really enemies. They just don't get along and they're kind of fighting for the same job. But there is a war between gods going on and they are sent to the front lines. It does have some historical fiction feel to it. Like, it could feel like it's World War II, and I kind of like that aspect in it. I thought that that was really interesting. So many fantasy books are set in like medieval time frames and have something a little bit more modern, though I mean it's World War II, so not that modern, was cool to have. My next is The Witch and the Tsar by Olyesa Salnikova Gilmore. This is on my January TBR, and so I talked about it there, but this is a Baba Yaga retelling. My kids and I learned a little bit of Russian folklore last year in history, and so I definitely want to check this one out. My next is Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wong. This was totally, I saw that Emily Fox, again, I'll tag her below. This was her favorite read of last year, and so I automatically bought it. It is dark academia brimming with mystery, tragedy, and the damning echoes of the past. So that sounds great, and I really am excited to pick this one up soon. My next 2 I bought together. It's only a duology, so I figured having both of them on my shelves will hopefully help me read them close together. And that is One Dark Window and Two Toasted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. So the back of One Dark Window says a maiden must unleash the monster within to save her kingdom in this dark, lush, gothic fantasy debut. I don't know how I feel about gothic fantasy. I've read a couple. So I'm interested to pick these up and kind of dive a little bit more into gothic fantasy and see if they are for me. But I do have 1 and 2. So my next is book 2 in what I think is going to be a trilogy, but book 3 is not out yet. So I will be starting with a different series by the same author, and that is Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. So you can see behind me, I have the first one. I also have Malice that's hiding behind that plant. So I am really happy to have this. I got it for a nice little price, but I probably will start with Malice and that whole series before moving on to this one. My legs fell asleep. I gotta get some blood back into it. Alright, my next, I think, is probably the coolest book that I own, and that is S by J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst. So it actually comes in this little box, and when you pull it out, it's this older looking book. Like, even it's like textured and everything. So it's kind of like a book within a book. So you have this original text that you read through, but it also has all these margin notes of these two people that are reading this book at the same time, or different times, but they are writing notes to each other in the margins to discuss this book. And then it even has, I have to be careful not to lose my place, it even has little pieces of paper and things in it. I think that the idea of this is absolutely fascinating. I'm not sure when I'm going to get to this one, because I feel like this one almost needs to be like, I sit down at the table and read through it and make sure like that I'm understanding the actual book, but then what's being said in the margins, but then also all the little extra papers and things. But I think that this is the coolest book. Alright, I'm gonna take a sip of coffee because that is all of the fantasies that I have. It's a lot. I do have a nice little stack here of some other genres, plus some book of the months that I think some of them are classified under fantasy. I just put all the book of the month ones that I have here into one grouping. Alright, my next, I have definitely not been reading a lot of rom-coms, which a handful of years ago I was reading a lot more rom-coms. But I figured, next month is February, so if a rom-com could get onto my TBR, I wouldn't be mad. So I decided to pick up Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. I do believe that this is the second in kind of a series, but each book follows a different couple. And so this one is small town sweetheart and an emotionally unavailable bad boy try to find some common ground in this chemistry-filled romance. She owns a flower shop in Rome, Kentucky, and apparently has had a really rough time dating lately, and so I think hires somebody to tutor her to be able to go on successful dates, and I think that's him. And then apparently, sparks end up flying. But I figured a little rom-com would be kind of nice. The next, this was a used book also, which is great, and that is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I have definitely been seeing this, I think it's just a duology. I don't know if it's going to have a third book. I've been seeing it everywhere. The second one actually was on the Goodreads favorite books of last year. So when I saw this one, I thought definitely I want to check it out. I'm kind of having fun lately with some mystery thriller kind of books, and this one sounds like it. So it's about a maid that starts working at a very rich house and learns all of their secrets, and that they are more than her secrets. The next was also used, and that is Let Us Descend by Jesmyn Ward. This one sounds like it will be a difficult but important read, as you are following a girl or woman who is a slave, and she is sold from the man that fathered her, and so you were following her through all of her places that she is being sold to. This one, I would like to read this one pretty soon, maybe during like Black History Month, and have this amazing perspective. My next is Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. I do still have the Dutch House on my shelves that I want to get to, and that one is read by Tom Hanks. This one, the audiobook, is read by Meryl Streep, and I've heard kind of mixed emotions about it, but definitely something that I want to check out. And it's a beautiful and moving novel about family, love, and growing up. I love family drama kind of novels, and plus I think that this one would be great for the spring. Alright, my last little bit of books are for Book of the Month. I do have one that is used. My used bookstore frequently has Book of the Month books, but I have Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. This is a slightly older book, but it's about a woman who's called up by a college friend, and she needs somebody to come and be a nanny for her husband's children, who he is trying to go a very political route in his career. But his children literally catch on fire when they have a kind of like tantrum. So it's a short little book. I've heard amazing things about it, even people picking it up recently, and it has been aging well. And so this cover. My next was on my TBR for this month under Read or Unhaul, and that video has already come out. But I am putting it back onto my shelves because it is Christmas themed, and that is The Kingdom of Sweets by Erica Johansson. This is a Nutcracker retelling. I think it goes in a very different way than the Nutcracker, and more deals with, I think, like the aftermath or side stories from the Nutcracker. And so I think that's why people didn't like it as much, but maybe knowing that going in will be helpful. But it is going to go back on my shelf until December. And then I have The Last Love Note by Emma Gray. I have heard amazing things about this, and that the audio is fantastic. And this is dealing with a woman in the aftermath of losing her husband, who goes on a trip, and for the first time, 2 years after losing her husband, can really deal with the grief of that. Hopefully, I feel like this is going to be a really good summer read, because this cover just gives me really good summer vibes. And while that one gives me summer vibes, this one is totally winter, and I'm hoping to get to it really soon. I have heard amazing things about it so far, and that is The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon. So this is a gripping historical mystery inspired by the life and diary of Martha Ballard, a renowned 18th century midwife who defied the legal system and wrote herself into American history. Finally, for my very last book, this has been a really, really big book haul. I'm hoping that kind of the next couple months are not as big. I know this was definitely a lot of Christmas money and taking old books off my shelves to my used bookstore to trade in and get new books, and so not every month will be this big of a haul. But my very last book is Mercury by Amy Jo Burns. This just came out this month. It's following a roofing family's bonds of loyalty are tested when they uncover a long-hidden secret at the heart of their blue-collar town. Again, I love a good family drama, and I think that this cover is really cool and want to check this one out. Alright. Whew. Got through it. Really proud of myself, because yesterday I was just having a rough one. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think I should start with first? And what do you think I should put on kind of possibilities for February TBR? I am going to be filming pretty soon my February TBR video, and if you missed my January one, I'll try and link it down below, but I have a new TBR jar. I have some new prompts that I'm going to put into it. So I'm going to have, I think, a stack of books that I would like to get to. maybe we'll get them onto the TBR. Maybe it'll be something else that's on my shelves, but we will see. So let me know, which ones should I add to my possibility of February TBR? On that note, I'm gonna go chug some more coffee and get the day going some more, and I will be back for another video soon.